Hi, my name is Michael. Spring is just around the corner and many of you are maybe thinking about buying your first touring bike. Stick around till the end of this video and you'll get a lot of interesting tips before you make your purchase. If you're new to the channel, if you're into bike touring, bikepacking or just outdoor adventures in general, please consider subscribing. The channel is updated at least once every week with new content such as bike touring videos, how-to videos or product reviews. So without much further ado, let's take a look at my touring bike. This is my touring bike. This is the Kona Sutra. But all the things I go through in this video is pretty general to all touring bikes. Let's start by having a look at the frame. The frame of a touring bike has a lot more relaxed geometry than your typical road bike. As you can see, the saddle and handlebar is almost equal, so you get a relaxed seating position. And also the top tube here is somewhat going up to the handlebar up here. It isn't like horizontal as you can see in a lot of road bikes. To be able to have a more relaxed seating position, I've added a spacer up in the front here to raise my handlebar about a centimeter. Touring bikes come in a lot of different sizes and shapes. If you're uncertain about what size is correct for you, just head on out to the manufacturer's web pages. They usually have a lot of size charts there, so you can just put in your dimensions and you'll probably end up with the correct bike for you. Another difference between a touring bike and a road bike is that most touring bikes are made of steel instead of carbon or aluminum. There are, however, a few that are made of aluminum, but I would say that probably 95% of all touring bikes are made up of steel. The two main benefits of having a steel bike is that it's more stable than an aluminum bike, plus it's much more easy to repair if you're in a situation where you might have to do that. With a steel bike you can just go to a mechanic and have them weld the frame of the bike. A drawback of having a steel bike is that it's a bit heavier than an aluminum or carbon bike. But since you're probably carrying a lot of weight in your panniers, the weight of the bike isn't really that important. Another feature of a touring bike is that you have a longer chainstay down here, which means that the back of your heel doesn't touch the pannier when you're pedaling. On a road bike, this gap between the pedal and the pannier will be a lot closer than it is on this touring bike here. On this bike I have 3 mounts for bottle cages, plus I also have eyelets for 2 additional mounts over here. But at the moment I use these eyelets for my front racks, where I put my front panniers. As you can see, my bike has mechanical disc brakes. These ones are getting more and more common on touring bikes. However, there are still a lot of bikes that have rim brakes, and those usually work just as okay as disc brakes. The benefit of having disc brakes is that they work really good even in rain. And the drawback of having disc brakes is that if you're touring in an undeveloped country, it can be a bit trickier to get spare parts for your disc brakes. There are a couple of different handlebars for touring bikes. I have a drop bar here. Some people also use regular straight bars, and I've also seen people using these kind of butterfly bars. The benefit of having drop bars or butterfly bars is that you can switch the position of your hands during the ride, and that's quite important because if you're going out bike touring for a week or two, if you're just using the same grip all of the time, you're probably gonna get a lot of numbness in your joints and hands. So my suggestion would be to pick up a drop bar or a butterfly bar. The handlebar of a touring bike is usually a bit more wide than your average road bike, so you can fit your handlebar bag really nice in the front here. This one uses these bar end shifters, but there are also touring bikes with STI shifters where you have a combined brake and shifter up here. These bar end shifters takes a while to get used to. Just give it a few weeks and then it's just as easy as shifting the normal way. The benefit of having these bar end shifters is that they are really easy to repair. My group set on this bike is a Shimano Deore group set, which is actually a mountain bike group set, but mountain bike group sets are quite common on touring bikes as well. This Shimano Deore group set is kind of a mid-range group set, and I think you should opt for at least a mid-range group set. Maybe not go for the cheapest one if you plan to have this bike for 10 or so years. My touring bike comes with a triple in the front here, which is really nice since when you go with a fully loaded touring bike up a steep hill, you want to have a lot of gears to choose from. The wheel of a touring bike is also really important to have a really strong and stable wheel. This one is comprised of 36 spokes, and the tire I use is a Schwalbe Marathon one. The Schwalbe Marathons are really great for bike touring since they have a really high puncture resistance, so you can probably tour on these for a couple of years before you experience your first flat tire. And another nice feature is this sort of reflective band on the sides of the tires, which makes you more visible in traffic. The Schwalbe Marathons that I use here have a width of 42 millimeters. My recommendation for touring bike would be to have at least 35 or 37 millimeters of tire width to be able to withstand the weight of yourself and all the gear you're bringing along. You want to invest in a good stable rear rack. The one I have back here has 2 levels, like you can see here. I use the bottom one to hold my rear pannier, and the top one is left over so I can put my tripod or another small bag up here if I want to. If you're used to going out riding on your road bike, you're probably not using fenders, but then you can choose a sunny day to go out. But if you're out on a tour for a week or two, you're probably gonna encounter a rainy day or two during those days. So unless you wanna get all your gear and clothes really dirty, my suggestion would be to pick up a nice pair of fenders for your touring bike. Usually when you buy a touring bike, they don't come with pedals, so you have to add them yourself. I myself use a combination pedal where one side is a SPD pedal and the other side is a flat pedal. Another important part of a touring bike is the saddle. I have a Brooks B17 saddle on my bike. This is a pretty expensive saddle. There are a lot of more inexpensive saddles out there. I would recommend taking some time to try out some different saddles. You can just visit your local bike shop and they will probably help you find the correct saddle for you. Well, that pretty much sums up my overview of a touring bike. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. And like I said in the beginning of the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, have a good one.